Hello and welcome to Attacking Third, presented by CarMax, the way car buying should be. Your favorite women's soccer show back at it. We want to thank you all for joining us here on Attacking Third, whether you're with us live on YouTube or watching on the Golazo Network or just listening to a podcast. We're just happy that you're here. We're always happy that you're here. And if you are joining us live, let us know that you're here. We always want to hear from you. So drop us a line in the chat, smiley faces, welcome. Satara Murray and Jen Beattie, alongside two wonderful former defenders and myself, Sandra Herrera. Before we get into everything, I just want to extend gratitude here. I'm filled with gratitude because I need to thank the people here because we're very, very happy to announce that we are now a finalist in the People's Choice Podcast Awards. And that's thanks to you, the listeners. But the truth is we could still use a little bit more of your help. So if you voted for us in the last round, you may be eligible to vote again. So check your email. And if you have something from People's Choice, don't put it in the trash. Click on it and make sure you give us your final vote. We need your help to make sure that we actually go out and get this award. Thanks again, everybody, for voting for us in the nomination round. And now it's the final push. And with that, I am so thrilled for this episode. I got to say, we hopped on a little bit before going live, just vibing, getting to know each other, going through the rundown. And now we got to share a little bit of that energy with the folks here because we have a new addition to Attacking Third's roster. We are so pleased to welcome former defender, former national champion with UNC in 2012, played with Liverpool, Bristol City, Sheffield United, played in NWSL with Houston Dash and Racing Louisville, and former Jamaican international Satara Murray. Welcome to Attacking Third. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited, really excited for this conversation.
Yeah, we're thrilled. We're thrilled to have you again, Jen. I'm always thrilled to be alongside you. I feel like it's been a minute, but it also hasn't been a minute. Because I feel like when you and I hop on together, it's just like we just hop right back into it.
Yeah, I feel like we're rolling now. I joked off air that I feel like we're best friends, but I wasn't actually joking. No, we built up a rapport. I love doing the show with you, mate. I'm happy to be back. And yeah, and welcome Satara. I'm so excited you're joining the team. Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, 100%. Let's get into this a little bit. Let's all become real acquainted. Let's all get friendly. We want to make sure that the folks know more about you, Satara, who you are, what you've done in the sport, what you're getting up to now, kind of post game. As far as let's just start maybe in the beginning. Like, what were the things that made you fall in love with soccer, and what sort of led you to becoming a former pro player?
I think when I first started, I started off when I was 5, and because I was born in New York, but then I grew up in Austin. And when I moved over to New York, I didn't know what soccer was. My parents introduced it to me, and I thought, oh, okay, this sounds fun. Like, it's cool. And it ended, I put a very long story short, it ended up becoming one of the most amazing things to happen to me in my life. And I think it was probably around 10, 11 when I think my mom had kind of recognized that I was actually a really good player. And, and I think she saw something in me that maybe I didn't see in myself at the time. And then, obviously as you get into it, the club level, you're going to all these tournaments, these showcases, what have you. The recruiting process starts happening, and being from Texas, everybody's about UT, Texas A&M. And so I wanted to go to A&M. I was so adamant about going because it's only an hour and 40 from Austin. Like, I'm a mama's girl. So, I wanted to be close to my mom's, and I have an older sister, and she was going to Prairie View A&M, which wasn't too far from College Station. So I thought, I'll go to A&M. So close to committing. And then my mom gets a phone call from my club coach saying, North Carolina is interested in recruiting Satara. Y'all should probably go out there and, and go look at the campus, go have a chat with Anson. And we did. I loved it. I stepped on foot on campus and I thought, yeah, this is it. I could see myself here for 4 years. So I ended up going there, and it was the best decision I could have ever made. On top of obviously like the prestigious program playing under Anson Dorrance and, Palladino, I wanted to get a really good education as well. And, UNC is a really good school. And, I thought kill two birds with one stone, become a natty champion, get a good education, and, and go from there. Now the professional side of it, Because obviously, professional soccer here in America, back in 2011, 2012, these leagues would come to the States and then they would fold, a bit shaky. So I wasn't really pressed on becoming a pro. And I just wanted to go to school, play soccer, get my education, crack on. Like that was kind of the plan. And then the NWSL, the inception of the NWSL came aboard in 2013, and I think I was going into my junior year, and I still wasn't too sure about it. And then Anson, we had a chat, and I have dual citizenship through my mom because she's English. And he said, how about going over to England? The Women's Super League, they had a little bit of, grit to them, a little bit of meat to them. And he went over there, he kind of scouted what the style was. And he thought, I could go out there and play. And, after I left, my last season at UNC was 2014, packed up all my stuff, took my finals, and then took a flight over to England and played at Liverpool for 4.5 years. So it's crazy, like where the sport can take you. I did not think I would be, I didn't think majority of my career would be in England, but once I got there, I just loved it, and I had a really good time. And I have no regrets about this career. It was amazing.
I think one of the biggest things in my experience anyway, it's such a relentless sport, right? It's a relentless job. And then when you retire, that's like your moment where you look back and you take a breath, right? And you're
right.
Whoa, that was amazing. Mm-hmm. Whoa, that was really hard. Okay, I learned so much from that. What were your kind of like standout moments? I think it's when you retire, you finally look back, right?
Yeah.
What were your standout moments? What did you learn from the most? What were your hard points? There's so many things along the way.
There's, it's funny. I'm glad that you asked that, because I think honestly, I've only been in retirement now for 3 months, so I'm like still a baby to it. But there's so much that I've reflected on over the last 3 months, if I'm being honest. And I think I used to kind of, base my career and the success on status, money, power, whatever the case may be. And now that I'm removed from it and I'm not playing, I'm so proud of my career. I think I put too much on myself to be more than what it actually was or what it needed to be, if that makes sense. Like, I think I used to think my career was a failure because I didn't, go to the World Cup, or I didn't win a Champions League title or an NWSL title or a Super League title, and, I didn't have 10,000 followers, or I didn't have all this money. And I think I based it off of that. But now that I am in my retirement mode, I'm out here cooling it, having a good time. I'm like, you know what, girl, you are in a less than 1%, population that got the sport and at a professional level. So many people wish they could be in that position, and you got a chance to do it for 10 years. So I offer myself a lot more grace, a lot more, and I approach my career now with a lot more gratitude. I'm so grateful for not just like the opportunities that came along with, playing football, but the people that I met along the way. Like, that was the best part of it. Just, some of my best friends I met through football, and I've got a chance just to, travel the world, see amazing places that I probably wouldn't have gotten a chance to see had I not played football. You know what I'm saying? So I think now that I've taken a step back, I'm reflecting on it. I'm like, you know what, girl, you had a great career and you had a really good time doing it. And I'm still going to be very involved with football, regardless of whatever it is I get into next. And, I could step away from it, but you can never take it out of me. And that's where I'm at right now. So that's, I think, some of the biggest things that I've taken away from it, for sure.
I love that, man. I'm just sitting here taking it all in, soaking it all in. It's a great perspective that you have. Cause if you allow me to, I kind of want to gas you up a little bit, because you had a great career. You said that you framed it like you're in the rare, species of just like that 1%. Right. Like, not everyone gets to have a professional career. Right. And not only that, you played at the highest level, which is at an international level for the Jamaican women's national team. Right. And I always emphasize that a little bit, because look, we're in the space where we're putting our face on camera and we're saying things, so people will maybe say things back. And I've definitely had my share of, Johnny 123 telling me that he's played in the highest level, and it's D3 private Christian university or something like that. Right. And I'm just I think our opinion of highest level is a little bit different. And for me, it is being able to, get on that pitch. Right. And see players represent their nations at the highest level, when you're talking best of the best of the best. So, right. I mean, I love that maybe stepping away from the pitch has given you the opportunity
For sure.
to thank yourself a little bit because you had that
Absolutely. Yeah.
such an awesome career. I mentioned the Jamaican
Mhm.
national team. Let's maybe get into that a little bit.
Okay.
Let's talk about some of your playing internationally for Jamaica. What's it meant to represent Jamaica
Right.
on the international stage?
Mhm.
You know, tapping into your heritage. What and also what's come along with that in terms of what you've had to learn with, you know, with the good and the bad experiences.
Yeah, I mean, when my first call up with Jamaica, I kind of was a bit hesitant with it. Obviously, my dad's Jamaican, and I don't have like the greatest relationship with my father. So, and I didn't really grow up with him. So, that Jamaican side of my family, I didn't really grow up with much. So, I think stepping, in with Jamaica for me was learning more about that side of my family, learning that Jamaican side that I didn't really get a chance to really develop, as I was growing up. So that part of it was so important for me. And I'm so grateful that I got a chance to experience it, when I did. Now, obviously, like anything, you take the good with the bad, and I have my moments with Jamaica. Excuse me. I loved it at times. I did not like it at times. I'll be very blunt about that. When you get to that international level, it's a whole different ball game compared to your club level. I mean, Jen, you probably know that as well. It's just a completely different step. And, you're playing with the best of the best. And, I'm playing with the likes of people like the Swabies, Allison and Chantel, Bunny Shaw, Drew Spence, Becky Spencer. And so, I'm playing with these girls who are like, elite level, and sometimes I did have a bit of imposter syndrome, thinking, man, do I really belong here? Is this, this is really where I'm supposed to be? But as I kind of started to kind of get my footing in and, going into more camps with them, I started to feel a little bit more comfortable. Now, obviously, I think it was a bit tumultuous. I did have times where I didn't want to be at those camps because sometimes I felt very alone. I think in terms of, I don't know if I really blended in with the culture that they were trying to build. Not entirely too sure. I think I'm still trying to reflect on that, post playing. But I think the overall experience was pretty good. And again, I got a chance to, experience the international level, playing in the CONCACAF championships, playing against the likes of, the US and Canada and Haiti and doing really well. I had an opportunity, to potentially go to the World Cup back in 23. I asked not to be considered for the roster, probably, don't want to get too much into that, but it's just, I didn't really see myself, going all the way to Australia and being in an environment like that for as long as, for 6-7 weeks. It was just a lot. And from my mental health standpoint, I needed to put myself first, and that's exactly what I did. But to help, to be a part of helping the girls get to the World Cup, to me, that was an honor. And I would forever be, so proud of being in a position to be a part of that. That was incredible. But I'm thankful to have gotten a chance to play at the international level, because not many people, not a lot of people get a chance to do that. And the fact that I was able to do that for the better part of almost 3 years was amazing. So I'm still reflecting on it. I'm still processing that side of it, but it was amazing. And getting a chance to go to like the places like Canada, not Canada, Australia, and I had never been there. We went there for a camp, and I was like, wow, getting the chance to experience going to Sydney and playing against the likes like Spain, Czech Republic, Australia. It was incredible. So I take the good with the bad, just like we all do, and and just have fun with it. But I'm honored. It's an honor to play for your country, and and like I said, getting a chance to understand that side of my family, getting that side to get a little bit of a deeper understanding from my Jamaican roots. That for me was what was really important, and I'm glad I got the chance to do it.
No,
Nice. If you're joining us live, you see some images of
Yeah,
Satara repping reggae girls. Love
that.
that.
Yeah, so it was cool.
No, I think you know what, you articulate that so well, and I think everyone has good and bad experiences, but ultimately it's experience, and we all learn so much from it.
Exactly.
Talking of experiences, though, you mentioned earlier that you went into retirement and you're chilling. Mm-hmm. I saw you at TST. You were. Yeah, that's not.
I was vibing out there. Let me tell you, like,
yeah, I'd love to hear about your experience and what you loved about it, because for me, that's the absolute best experience.
Right, and likewise, I'd love to hear about yours as well. Yeah, I mean, that was my first time going to TST. Obviously, I know in terms of like their inception of the women's side of it, only like 2-3 years old. I went, I played with the Drunken Monkeys. Shout out to them. And it was a great experience. Like, I went into it not really having any expectation. I don't know why. I think because I had just retired from playing, and I don't think I got a chance to really like process my career, my professional playing career. And so my mom is like sending me off, and she's like, have fun, like just go do your thing. I'm like, Mom, like leave me alone. Like I'm not going in there with any expectation.
Yeah.
And then I go and I'm like, yo, this is really dope, like, and I've never played sevens like that before. You know what I mean? I'm an 11s player. Like that's all I've done. We've done that our entire life for the most part. So I'm going, and the rules and the rules, regulations, everything is so different. And we, like the Drunken Monkeys, we got out there like a week before the tournament had started to get some reps in, kind of build a rapport with one another, because for the most part, that was a lot of our first times playing with one another. And for the most part, that was majority of our first time playing 7v7. So it was new. So they wanted us to go out there and kind of build a rapport with one another. And, we went out there and we did our thing. It was so fun to be a part of. I mean, I wish we had won. Congratulations, Jen. Y'all did. Awesome. But it was so cool. And I definitely want to go back again next year. So yeah, but what was your experience like?
Oh, unbelievable. I still joke around to this day. I don't know how I snuck onto the team as a on US women, but it was unbelievable and so different, like what you said, to 11s. But for me, I'd been out of the game 6 months, so to go and have that sort of locker room experience with just like legends of the game was amazing. But no complaints whatsoever. So winning's always fun. So.
Exactly. Yeah, it was a great time. I had a really good time.
Yeah, I love it. Just listening to the two of you talk about it, I'm just I can't wait for TST already to come back. Every time we've chatted about TST in some capacity on this show, it's always like how much fun it was, the difference in play and the different roles. We love that. Real quick before we take a break. Everyone is loving your story in the chat, Satara. People are tapping in. They're welcoming you. They're saying, like, it's so great for you to be here. This is an incredible way to learn from you. There is a quick question that we want to take. It's from E. Charles Sneed. Satara, any chance you will try coaching?
I mean, there may be something on the way. I didn't really know if coaching was the route that I wanted to go, in terms of, that's exactly what I wanted to do right after playing. My passion is in storytelling, the media side of sports, especially hearing women's stories within sports, whether that's soccer, basketball, etc. But now I'm recognizing that I have a lot to offer, and I would love to help kids, from all ages, understand that soccer is an incredible sport. It's an incredible space to express yourself. It's a chance to be a little bit free. So yeah, I might dabble in coaching. I think it might be something that might be my calling, something that I didn't think was my calling, but I always say God has a plan. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing if that is something that I could potentially pursue. So we'll see.
Great question then from me, Charles Sneed. I love it. We're so happy you're here with us, Satara. You're going to stay with us on the show, on A3, to chat even more things. Everybody stick with us after a quick break. Welcome back to Attacking Third, presented by CarMax, the way car buying should be. We've got some news to touch on during this episode of Attacking Third. Pretty big. We got a coaching change to discuss. Spain has announced that they will be replacing women's national team coach Montse Tomé with Sonia Bermúdez. So a little bit of some big news for us to touch on here. It's a coaching change for the #1 ranked team in the world, just 2 weeks after reaching the final of the Women's Euro Championship. And so I think that's where we start when it comes to this news. So Montse out, Bermúdez in. There's some conversation to be had around, I think, Montse's eventual arrival to this head coaching position. She essentially got, handed the reins to a team after a post-2023 World Cup victory by Spain, where There was unfortunately a lot of discussion, not about the fact that this national team won a World Cup. It was about a terrible incident, a non-consensual incident between Jenny Hermoso and the former Spain Federation president, Luis Rubiales. There was a lot of discussion about that. And since things have gone to trial, even more highlights about that. And Tomé taking over this team came with a lot of controversy in the time because of her coming up through former head coach and on the sidelines in the staff with Vidal. So there was maybe some mixed reaction to her arrival, I think, to that post. And there might even be some more mixed reaction as she leaves this post, honestly, because when we're looking a little bit at the fact that she's out and Bermúdez is in, it kind of feels a little bit of more of the same. And please, as former players who have played at the international level, correct me if I'm wrong. I think, Jen, if you'd like to kick us off here, because you were so locked into those Euros. I mean, you were on calls. We were cheering you from home on the TV, like doing all the analysis. Does this feel a little unexpected for the Federation to make this move?
I mean, I think I read that her contract was about to expire anyway at the end of August. So I think the fact that there hadn't been a renewal, even, you normally see that before a tournament, kind of invest in a manager, or definitely afterwards, soon afterwards as well, going down to the wire. So I think it was maybe expected. I think a lot of the girls maybe even had a hint of what was about to happen. I think the winning the Euros might have changed something. You can't, of course, like getting to the final and the football they were playing, they're one of the best teams in the world, right? They have Ballon d'Or winners in the midfield. The majority of their team got to the best 11 of Euros, but ultimately they fell at the final hurdle. So they'd, off the back of winning the World Cup, they wanted to go that step further. It was their first ever Euro final. I think that's important to say. This is a very new generation of a successful Spanish team, with Germany having dominated Europe for so long. And of course, England winning in 2022. But I don't think it was a surprise, in a sense that I think the expectation of this Spanish national team now is to win. And I think that a lot of journalists and viewers went into that tournament calling them the favourites, and they ultimately were for a large majority of the time. But I think my biggest surprise is who they've employed. I think Sonia Bermúdez coming into it, a lot of international structures still do that, employ from within and promote from within. But ultimately, the biggest concern on the outsider's perspective looking into the Spain national team has been culture, with a lot of things that have happened in the past. You described it all there, so I don't need to repeat with Rubiales. But that's what I think I'm most surprised at. I was very intrigued to see, right, who they're going to bring in, what they're going to change of this culture, because that was always the big thing about Tomé is, okay, she was there when everything happened and that's who took over. So what can they change now to make a really big impact? And they've employed from within. And I think from a player's perspective, Satara, would love to know what you think about this. I don't think the players would have a super positive mindset of, okay, that's a pretty straightforward employing from within. We talk a lot about thorough processes when it comes to recruitment.
Yes.
Have you looked everywhere? Have you gone global in terms of a process? Because you're talking about top players. You want them to have the best. And I think they've not, it feels like a quick decision. That's what I guess I wanted to say.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to jump on that, Jen, and I could not agree more. I think it's a sort of negligence, isn't it? Because from what I've read, I think the new director on board, her plan was to kind of strip the whole culture down with Spain and kind of rebuild it, right? So I think that comes from kind of removing all of the toxicity that was once under Rubiales, and kind of bringing in something completely new. Now, Bermúdez, is that her name, on bringing her on board, to me it's like laziness, because you're not really doing your due diligence and vetting these managers and really seeing what kind of positive culture they can bring into this team. And that has been obviously the thing circling around Spain since the World Cup, is the culture of the team, the dynamic. And I just think Jen hits on so many great points, because as a player, you want to know that your federation actually cares about the well-being of players, and knowing that they're doing their diligence in bringing somebody on board that can really, bring a positive dynamic, a positive culture into the team. And it's like they're rotating. It's like a recycling of the same managers. And I just think it's laziness. I think there needs to be a deeper vetting on these managers, not just recycling the same people over and over and over again. I mean, it's insanity to me, and the players deserve more. They deserve better. And I think, Jen, you hit on such a great point where now the expectations of Spain, of these women, are to win, right? Win these major tournaments. And in order to do that, it does start from the managerial position. And I think there'll be maybe a lack of trust because it's showing that their federation, is not really looking into actually doing, it's a disservice to them, I think. It takes nothing to go out and look for managers that actually are wanting to bring in something positive into this environment. So I'm shocked about it. Not in terms of, of Tomé, leaving. It's who they're bringing in. I thought they had learned, obviously not. So it's a disservice to these women, honestly.
I think for me, that's the most glaring part of the change, is that it just sort of feels like this is inevitably going to lead to potentially more of the same, and a little bit of the opposite of what players have been vocal about for the last 2, 3, going on 4 years now. It was just before that 23 World Cup where 15 of their rostered national team players spoke out or tried to get a change internally, and take care of things behind the scene, and they were put on blast by their federation.
Right.
Okay, and then only to go out and then win the World Cup, and then have controversy follow them out of that victory. And so I am curious, for me, if that's just kind of what this signals. Does it signal that it's more of just of the same? Because players since that 23 World Cup have been vocal about that, still saying nothing's changed.
Right.
We're still not being heard. And yet these players are going out there and performing and performing and performing. They're winning games. They're competing, in later stages of major international tournaments, whether it was during the Olympics or now going to the finals in the Euro Championship and getting runner up. And for me, that's the biggest part. And you can maybe look at different angles in this one and say, well, her contract was going to be up. This was always going to be the move. To me, that's a worse take. Yeah. You're going to tell me that this was planned, that Bermúdez was always going to be the move? That just seems like it just piles it on a little bit more. If that was really the line of thinking. I also saw additional reporting out of BBC that maybe, yes, there was a combination of the fact that yes, the contract was going to be up post Euros, but also maybe there was a little bit of culture that was either lost and or not reestablished, and so it was just best to move on. So as far as spinning this forward and looking ahead, Bermúdez has been given the reins. This is the head coach. It's not like they're gonna. This is the Spain Federation we're talking about. It's not like they're gonna take a look at what people are chattering about online and clamoring for, or even listening to us on A3 and say, "Hey, we really got to make a change here." This is who it is moving forward, and it's late summer 2025. The next thing in front of them, to your point, Jen, is that 27 World Cup. Yeah. We're like 20-ish. 1-2 months out from that actual World Cup. And I think this is where we maybe end on a little bit, because you both as former internationals, and that goal is to make that World Cup and eventually win it. Mm-hmm. Satara, maybe why don't you take the lead on this one? What's it like knowing that you have maybe arguably a short window to the most high profile tournament in anyone's career, combined with the fact that, okay, now we have to combine that short window with a coaching change?
Yeah, I mean, and obviously all these women for Spain, professional at the highest level. And I think for them, perhaps they'll understand that, okay, this is something that it's not going to change right here between now and, when the World Cup is happening, who knows? But I think the focus is just to focus on getting to the World Cup. And I think these women have already dealt with so much adversity, throughout the last 2.5, 3 years, 4 years. To them, this is probably nothing different. And though they may be extremely disappointed about, this hiring and disappointment of Bermúdez, I think for them, they may put it aside and just focus on the job at hand. I think that's the thing about being an athlete. Like, you can deal with so much, coming at you all at once. But when it comes time to going out there and getting a job done, that stuff gets put to the side for 90 plus minutes. And I feel like I would like to think that these women will do that. But it's something that has to be addressed at some point. You cannot continue to keep recycling these same managers over and over and over again. I just think, seeing how bad it was at one point, and then you're not going to do anything about it. It's so poor, but I think with how good these players are, how professional they are, how switched on they are all the time. I like to think that if I was in that boat, I would just kind of put that aside, because there's nothing that they can do. Control the controllables and focus on the job at hand, and let everything else kind of take care of itself when it needs to. But it's a disservice to them, and I'm going to continue to keep saying that. It's just poor, honestly.
I think it's still, like, going to the timing of it, I actually think it's still quite a good window of time. From a player's perspective, I've definitely been there where managers change over mid qualifications, or or you've seen it. Christian Buch took over Germany, I think, a little over a year before the Euros, so that's even less time. And I've definitely seen shorter windows. So I think a 2-year window, I think, is still a good amount of time to implement what you want to do and how you want to, especially someone who's within the structure already, right? They know their philosophy inside out. They'll have coached a lot of these players, so it's a very smooth transition in that sense. So there are positives. Still would love to know what the actual players feel about it, but in terms of timing and window, I actually think it's quite a good time, because it's straight after a tournament. They'll have had the heartbreak of losing a final. Now is the time to refresh, to get someone else in. So there are positives I can take at it in terms of timing and why now, because now you've got every single qualification going into that major tournament for her to implement what she wants to do, what she wants to change culturally, if she chooses to do that. We'll see, obviously, in terms of performances and press conferences, and see what the players have to say about it. Of course, they'll be very careful with what they're saying, and it'll be hard to figure out in that sense. But time-wise, definitely seen it being a lot worse from a player perspective, and had that mid qualification, and that is the worst when you're trying to change things in a 10-day window. There's not a lot of time, and you've got, she's going to have friendly, she's going to have camp, she's going to have warm-up camp, she's going to have all the time to kind of figure out what she wants to do. So in that respect, there are still some positives, but I totally get what you're saying, Satara. Like, in terms of the disservice, I'm hearing you all the way.
Okay, I've got one rapid fire question for the two of you.
Go on.
Before we jump into our next segment, and it's this: all things considered, I love both of your points about the player perspective, having to go through that, even the timing. Like, hey, the 2-year window is still a good build up. Mm-hmm. So let's fast forward. Forward. Spain are in the World Cup with Bermúdez. Let's just say they get to that final. Let's say they lose that final. Unlike this window leading up to this World Cup, the next international cycle doesn't operate that way. The Olympics are right around. A, do they keep Bermúdez even if they lose that final to go on to, eventually the Olympics maybe? Or is it just more of the same from this iteration?
I say give the same energy, isn't it? Like, I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, if that was the case, right? That theoretical scenario, like, I think I don't know. I do think that they may very well do the same thing again. But what I'm hoping, and this is me like wishful thinking, that this time, if that does actually happen, they'll kind of go outside of their norm. That's the hope, but that's just wishful thinking. So Jen, I don't know what you think about it, but I can see them doing the same exact thing, honestly.
Yeah, same. I think based on the standard and expectations they've set, I think it would be an actual disservice to Tomé if Bermúdez got to keep in the job based on losing another final. So no, I don't think timeline is maybe what they're thinking. Success is everything in sport. Yeah. If you win a trophy, you're safe. If you don't, and you have those kind of players in the locker room, I think we'd see the same, even if it is only a year window. Good question though, Sandra. I like that.
Good question.
I love it. Doing my job. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. All right. Speaking of players in the locker room, we're going to chat a little bit more. We're going to close out with our final segment with a little bit of fun. We're going to be chatting all things Defenders with a couple of Defenders. Stick with us after a quick break. Hello and welcome back to Attacking Third, presented by CarMax, the way car buying should be. Let's have a little bit of fun to close out this show. One of the first things I was really excited about when you joined on to the show, Satara, I was like, okay, you're telling me that Tuesday's show is going to be like me alongside a couple of baddie former Defenders. Like we gotta talk about some, the defensive players. Let's make sure that we're having fun with this one and get not only our spin on some of the best Defenders in the world at the moment, but make sure that we get our takes in. Like, who do we think are the best in the world? Like, who's our favorite of all time? And maybe let's start there. Let's just like have a little fun, kind of open window. We're all fans of the game. We've all been paying attention to it for some time. Jen, I'll let you kick us off here. Who's one of your most favorite defensive players in the game of all time?
This is the easiest question for me to answer. I fangirled and also hated playing against, but the legendary Wendy Renard. Just every single, I don't know how many times I had to mark her at a corner, but it was awful. Like, it was just obviously so tall, so good in the air. She was obviously the legendary Lyon team that just crushed Europe for so many years on the bounce. I think they knocked us out at semis early days of my Arsenal career, and then laterally as well when I was at Man City. They knocked us out semis back to back, and just her ball playing from the back, her composure. She was always also so respectful when you played up against her. She was so chill, so calm, and just a legend of the game. Obviously, I was always a huge fan from an early. I think we were similar in age, as well. So it's kind of, I guess, play up against her. Always so hard to play against, so hard to mark at a corner. She's always been the one where I was like, name the hardest centre back I've ever had to come up against or play against or respect when I'm watching. Wendy Renard, number one for me.
I love that. That's a good shout. It's gonna be hard to top. How about you, Satara? Anyone ringing alarms in your head?
Mine is always going to be Becky Sauerbrunn. I think she's an absolute legend in more ways than one. I mean, I think she's just an amazing human off the pitch, but on it, I mean, it's the way in which she commands, the lines in front of her. And I love a hard hitting defender because I am a hard hitting defender. So, I love it when, Becky can just, her reading of the game and, her cool, calm, collective, like attitude, her demeanor. I mean, it's inspiring. So I would say I used to kind of base my game off of her, but there was no way. I mean, there was just ways things that she could do that I don't think I could ever do. So, I always admire her ability as a captain, as a leader, both on and off the pitch, and they call her Captain America, right? So I love it. So yeah.
No, I love it. Those are two great shots. I'm not gonna lie, like when I'm thinking of like my all timers, like Wendy Renard and Becky Sauerbrunn are like top 3. Honestly, like those are like absolute like goats of the game. Yeah. And I was like thinking about this, and I was like, do I like try to throw it back like even further? Mm-hmm. Like if we were to ask like Wendy Renard or like Becky Sauerbrunn, like who their favorite like all time defenders were, and I was just like, it got me thinking a little bit. So I'm gonna also keep it U.S. national team side, and I'm gonna give a shout out to Joy Fawcett. She's someone who just was like so Captain Clutch, right? More than like Captain America. I think this is one of the former 99ers who can say that they won a couple World Cups, won gold medals, and really was like responsible for just kind of laying that foundation, I think, for what it meant to kind of just be like that American defender where you're just relentless, and the mentality of, you know, no one, like sure, we can go out there and draw, but we can never lose if like they don't score against us. So I'm gonna give a shout out to Joy Fawcett on this one. Although if I had to like rank them for real, I'd probably go like Bernard, Sauerbrunn, and then whomever else. I also want to give a shout out to like Saki Kumagai, like the Japanese international as well, like incredible defender as well, like just the ball, can like read an attacker's move from like 3 paces out. That's probably like my like honorable mention in this one. I know we're trying to like keep it in the show. Wanted to go with her for sure and give her some love because I was a little bit torn. Okay, let's get into present day a little bit. As far as who are the very best defenders playing today, we're gonna go ahead and do a little bit of a blind ranking. Okay, we're gonna do a top 6 because there's 3 of us here. Everyone's gonna suggest 2. We're gonna go ahead and take some turns.
I'm excited.
And I'm excited for this one too. Jen, I'm gonna let you lead us off. You go ahead and give us the first one.
Right, okay. My first one, I'm just gonna name her Leah Williamson. Do you want my description as to why she's up here? Okay.
Sure.
Obviously I had the pleasure of playing with her when I was at Arsenal, and her technical ability, her vision of passing, her long range, short game, one of the best technical defenders I think I've ever played on. And then also she had some fight about her. And I think a lot of people don't necessarily see that because she's so like controlled with it, but she would put herself about, and I love that about her. And she had this like fierce mentality, this winning mentality. No wonder she's gone on to do what she's done with England as captain. So she had to be in there for me. She was my first on the list when I was writing down.
Cool. I think that's a good one. Okay, as far as defenders, again, present day, they got to be playing now.
Yeah.
Who's up there for you, Satara? Who are you going to add to the list here?
I'm gonna say Lucy Bronze. I love watching Lucy play. I think in terms of her ability to get up and down the pitch, is incredible. I think I even saw that she was playing with perhaps like a broken leg. Something happened before Euros. And was still able to perform at that level that she did. I just think one thing about Lucy that I love is she's consistent. You know, I know people say what they want to say, but for me, at one point, used to playing as a fullback, I used to just watch Lucy play, and I used to think, what the heck? This girl is just up and down, up and down. I love her energy. I really do. And the fact that she's been this consistent for the better part of the last like 10 years is it's incredible for me. I think that's why she's a huge cornerstone for England and not for Chelsea. I think she's just by far, in my opinion, one of, if not the best right back in the world. So that's just my opinion. Yeah.
This is going to be hard.
All right.
This is going
to be hard. But I got to say, we're staying across the pond for the first 2 picks. I'm like, come on, man. Like, what are we doing here, man? Like, all right, let me go ahead and bring it back a little bit. Although I guess this technically still counts as across the pond because I wasn't gonna let this ranking go without including Naomi Girma on this list. Incredible. Absolutely. I would argue that she is probably, if not already, the best center back in the world in Emma Hayes' opinion. But she's definitely on her way there. She's just been on this wild trajectory since the 2023 World Cup, really her rookie season, and then NWSL in 2022. And it's wild to sort of look at that trajectory and see like how she has instantly become this staple on that back line. And so much of it, is on her skill set and talent on the pitch. She can recognize and read the game very well. Her positioning often always on point. But it's also what she does off of it as well, like how she leads, how she sets the example for others. And you could see that with her teammates and how she interacts as well. So I'm definitely keeping nominating Naomi Girma in this one as well. Okay, so we've got 3 on here so far. We've got 3 more that we've got to do. And I think for this one, we'll just drop the names, and then maybe I have a couple of questions for y'all about some defender things on the pitch. Jen, Who's your second defender you're nominating for the rankings?
All right, Garma was definitely in mine, by the way. Can't wait to see what she does this year at Chelsea. Obviously started tough with her calf, but I went Olga for left back Spain.
Yep.
I love that. That's a good one. I mean, if we were gonna get some lionesses in here, I had to get some Spain players as well. How about you, Satara? Who's the second?
I mean, I was good. Naomi was in mine, and so was Olga. Like, I guess great minds think alike. I'm gonna have to say Alex Greenwood. And what I like about Alex is I used to play with Alex as well, Liverpool, and there were a lot of things that I learned through Alex for sure. But in terms of her versatility as playing as a fullback, as a center half, and I think in her abilities to lead, I think Alex has really kind of grown into that leadership role quite well, especially with City, even with England as well. And I think her ability to read the game and her left foot is lethal. I used to always say Alex had one of the best left foots I've ever seen in my entire career. Between her and Kaz Weir, one of the best left feet. So so Alex is definitely up there for me as well.
I love it. Okay, I have a lot of responsibility on my shoulders here, I feel like, because you know what? I'm going to bring it back to the region. Shout out to CONCACAF. I'm going to go ahead and nominate for my second player. I'm actually going to nominate Rebecca Bernal, Mexico's team captain and center back. She's someone that actually can play across lines. She's no stranger to being kind of that defensive midi, but oftentimes when she has responsibility for the national team, they set her further back, and that is on purpose because of who she is and what she provides for this team. I think not only she is an incredible defender and player on that back line, but she has absolutely redefined what it means to be a defender on the Mexican national team. I think if you were to even try to profile the Mexican women's national team, even like a cycle ago, something like stingy, organized, well-played defense is not something that you would use to describe the Mexican women's national team program. And that has absolutely changed with someone like Rebecca Bernal, whether she is going into challenges, going and getting those clearances, or like stealing the ball. I love watching this player make her interceptions. I think she's absolutely a star for that program, one of the faces of the teams, and in my argument, one of the better defenders in the world right now. So I'm nominating her on this list as well.
Love.
Speaking of relationships, though, I think this is good that I went last in this one because I talked a little bit about Bernal right now and how she could sometimes play across lines, and depending on what the team needs or the coaching staff and what they need, she's with the Spirit right now. We could see maybe she plays that defensive mid role, maybe she's a third center back option. And that's because sometimes you got to change things up, and sometimes you got to make sure that whatever the opponent in front of you is presenting, you want to make sure you're matching that. And so maybe it comes down to who has the better relationships on that back line amongst each other, and of course with your goalkeepers as well. We love to always show some defenders and goalkeepers love on the show, Satara. I mean, at least I try to do that. I always try to get I always try to show some defensive love. There's a lot of folks that love the goals and the goal scores, but I'm like, let's talk about some goalkeepers and defenders. So let's close out with a little bit of fun there. You're both internationals, going to you with the experience here. Satara, who's like your favorite goalkeeper that you've ever played in front of, whether it was for club or for country?
I really have to mull this over because I've played in front of some really good goalkeepers throughout my career. I'm going to narrow it down to two, and I'll definitely say Becky Spencer because obviously with Jamaica, her feet are unbelievable, honestly, and she's such a good leader as well. And just a genuinely just nice human being. And then Jane Campbell, I played with her at Houston, and Jane is just there's something about her. I think just the way in which she carries herself is just. I just felt confident knowing, with her back there and knowing that it's okay. If I made a mistake, Jane had my back. And again, just her shot stopping abilities as well as just, it's incredible. So definitely Bex and Jane. Yeah.
Nice shot. How about you, Jane?
Bex definitely has outfielder technical ability. She's phenomenal. Yeah. For me, it was actually straight away off the bat, Karen Bardsley. Played in front of her for 4.5-5 years at Manchester City, and genuinely in terms of communication, shot stopping, the best. Just when you're technically or defensively compact and you don't concede many shots, you need your goalkeeper to pull out that one unbelievable shot stop in the big games. I'll never forget FA Cup final against West Ham. We kind of started really poorly, and Jane Ross had this header about 3 yards out from the goal, and she just tipped it over the bar to keep it at 0-0. We went on to win, but I was just like, that's what the best goalkeepers do. Like, pull that unbelievable stop when they don't have much to do in the game. And then, like, I still to this day, I actually worked with her in the Euro final in Basel. And so it was really fun working with her again from this side of stuff. But I joke all the time that I'll never forget her voice just constantly for 90 minutes. Distances. Yeah. And I would literally have to look back and be like, "You're all right, mate. I hear you." Like, but just like she was 10 out of 10, mate, in terms of like positivity, amazing to work with, one of the best workers, shot stopper, communicator, no faults. Loved playing in front of her.
Oh, that's amazing. And that's the thing that you need with goalkeepers, because sometimes, you know, when we're out there in the pitch and we're playing, you know, at like the 75th, 80th minute, like sometimes the brain is just like a bit foggy. But if you have a goalkeeper behind you that's just constantly in your air, you're never gonna switch off, because they're always switched on. And that's exactly what you need. And that is the dynamic between a goalkeeper and her back line that you need. You know, you need that person that is constantly in your air, you know, even if it's like the most, you know, minor details. That's what you need. That's how I always determine how good a goalkeeper is, because they're always yapping, never stopping.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. That kind of answers one of the other questions that I had, where I was like, you know, is there like a secret language between the defenders and goalkeepers? And I think the obvious answer there is yes, because it's like they're looking at the back of your heads.
Exactly.
And so y'all are gonna have to like stay locked in. And so it's nice to hear that every once in a while you had to turn around, Jen, and be like, I got it, mate. I hear you. I love that. Okay. So let me ask a different one then. So what defenders are out there right now? We just listed a bunch of present day ones that we're huge fans of. We listed some all-time greats. So what current defenders, in your opinion, Satara, would maybe make a great goalkeeper right now if they ever wanted to make that switch?
I don't even. I mean, this girl is not I don't think she could play as a. And we saw it. Neely Martin is the only player that I know that can literally be a field player and then being as a goalkeeper. But in terms of defender, I'm gonna have to think about that one. You might want to go to Jen real quick and let me have a moment to think about that, because I think I don't even know. Is it easy to transition as a field player to a goalkeeper, or is it easier to transition from a goalkeeper to a field player? Questions that need answers, right? So
yeah.
I think about that.
I love it. How about you, Jen? You got one?
Defender to a goalkeeper.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen Katie McCabe do it maybe once or twice.
You know what? That's a good shout. I feel like I could see the vision there.
Yeah, I feel like I could see her doing it. Just in terms of like excitement and taking on the she'd be diving everywhere. I think like I reckon she'd do it.
Those are good ones. I'm feeling the Neely Martin pick. If I had to be the combo breaker, I'd say I'd lean with Martin. Just you know what, we're visual learners here at Attacking Third. We've already seen it. We're gonna give it to Neely Martin. Oh, I love it. This was awesome. I love that we had a defensive specific kind of segment. We're gonna close out just celebrating some contract news for a couple defenders in the NWSL. Houston Dash actually completed a transfer of Italian international Leah Bottine from Juventus for undisclosed fees, and the defender will join the Dash through the 2027 season. So that is, we're all up. We're all up. It's approximately 2 Italians in NWSL now. Like you can't stop the league. And we want to extend congratulations to defender Ellie Jean, got a new contract with Racing Louisville through the 2028 season. So just some defensive news in the league to close out the show. This was a blast. Satara, welcome to Attacking Third. We're so happy you're with us, and we hope to chat with you some more along the way throughout the duration of the year. Thanks everyone else for joining us today. Attacking Third will return on Thursday, August 14th, right here on YouTube with Darian Jenkins, Kristen Kupo, and our very own Jen Beattie. They're going to go ahead and preview Week 16 in NWSL, including the very big matchup between Kansas City Current and Orlando Pride, which you can watch on Saturday on CBS. Thanks for being here. Make sure you follow Attacking Third wherever you get your podcasts. Go ahead and leave us a 5-star rating and review. We're also available on YouTube. Go ahead and catch us on the CBS Sports Golazo Network for all of your women's soccer coverage. For our producer, Mark, Jen Beattie, our newly christened Satara Murray, I'm Sandra Herrera. This was Attacking Third. Thanks for being here.